All right, so today we're diving into interview prep for import-export specialists.
Really interesting field,
Yeah, it is.
especially when we're talking about agricultural goods.
Right, and we've got all this great RoleCatcher intel. So let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Okay, first question from the RoleCatcher prep pack is, can you tell us about your experience working with agricultural raw materials, seeds, and animal feeds?
I can see why that might seem a little intimidating.
Yeah, it sounds like they want someone who's worked on a farm.
Right, it does sound like that. But honestly, what they're really looking for is that you can demonstrate knowledge.
Okay, knowledge more than just, like, years of experience.
Exactly. So even if you haven't worked directly in the field for years, you can still spin this to your advantage.
Okay.
So think about it. Have you volunteered on a farm, taken some agriculture courses, even something like being a passionate home gardener?
So you're saying even my little backyard garden could count?
It definitely could, especially if you've got some specialization. Like, let's say you're really into growing those heirloom tomatoes. You can talk about that.
Okay, so it's all about how I frame it.
Yeah, instead of just saying, oh, I like to garden, you say, my interest in agriculture led me to experiment with, different growing techniques to optimize for flavor profiles or something like that.
Okay, so connecting those dots for them. I see, I see. Now, I did notice RoleCatcher has this AI-powered CV builder.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tool.
Does that, like, analyze these job descriptions and help my experience stand out more?
That's exactly what it does. And it's super cool. What it does is it looks at your background. And even if your skills aren't directly, front and center in terms of import-export, it will prioritize them and make them super relevant.
That's so helpful because especially with these jobs, it feels like you're up against so many other people.
Oh, yeah, it's a competitive field for sure.
Okay, so you've got the CV down.
Right.
Let's get into the actual interview because that can be even scarier.
Of course, yeah.
This is question number 2. How do you keep up to date with changes in regulations and laws related to import and export of agricultural products? And honestly, sometimes it feels like those regulations change like every other day.
Yeah, the laws and regulations around international trade, it's constantly changing. It's very dynamic. What they're really trying to figure out with that question is how proactive you are, Are you really staying on top of things?
Okay.
So you want to be able to show them, like, do you subscribe to any industry newsletters?
Oh, that's a good one.
Like the American Association of Exporters and Importers, for example.
What about professional organizations?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Joining something like the National Customs Brokers and Forwarders Association of America is a great way to show them you're serious.
Right.
And obviously, RoleCatcher, that's a great resource to stay up to date. But you want to be able to mention, like, specific things. Oh, yeah, I've been following this recent development, that kind of thing.
So instead of just saying, I keep up to date, actually show them, okay, I like it. All right, question number 3. How do you ensure that all import-export documentation is accurate and complete? Oh. This one makes me nervous because I'm a details person. But, like, even I know how easy it is to
miss things.
And these documents, it feels like the stakes are very high.
Absolutely. It's important. Think of it like, those documents, they're like a recipe for a perfect cake.
Right.
One ingredient wrong, the whole thing's off.
Yeah, you don't want a documentation disaster.
No, you don't. And the best way to avoid that is to be systematic.
Okay.
So RoleCatcher really emphasizes building those habits.
Like what?
Double-checking everything, even using simple tech tools. You don't need fancy software.
That's right.
Just like a spreadsheet, a well-organized one that can do wonders.
Right.
And something else that's really important, collaboration.
Oh, okay, like working with other people.
Yes. Having a second set of eyes, someone else review your work can make all the difference.
Oh, for sure, because you miss things that other people are like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
2 heads are better than 1, especially with these documents.
For sure.
Okay, that's good advice. Question number 4. How do you handle any issues or delays in the import-export process? Because it seems like there's always something.
Oh, there's always something, yeah.
So how do you even begin to answer that question?
So this is your chance to really shine and tell a story.
Okay, like a specific example.
Yeah. Let's say a shipment was delayed because of, I don't know, unexpected weather.
Okay.
You want to talk about how you contacted the logistics provider, how you looked for alternative shipping routes, and very importantly, how you kept the client updated.
So you didn't just fix the problem, you kept everyone in the loop.
Communication is key.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Could they ask follow-up questions about that?
Oh, absolutely. They might ask about a time you couldn't avert a problem.
Oh, interesting.
What did you learn from it?
Right.
How did you adapt? And did your actions prevent something even worse from happening?
Okay, so even setbacks can be spun into something positive.
Absolutely. It shows you're always learning.
Okay, before we move on, I actually had a question about the RoleCatcher Career Compass tool.
Yeah.
Is that helpful for someone just starting out in this field?
It's a fantastic tool, especially for someone who is just starting out. And you know what I really like about it? It doesn't just give you a list of jobs, it shows you the skills and experience you need to progress.
Oh, okay.
And it even maps out potential pathways. So let's say you realize you love a certain commodity.
Okay.
You could specialize in that.
Makes sense.
Or maybe you discover a passion for logistics. You could go that route. Or even, who knows, maybe you end up managing a whole team of import-export specialists one day.
So it's like having a roadmap, but with options.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
All right, so we're back to these questions.
All right, let's do it.
It really does feel like you could take it in so many different directions.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
Okay, back to the interview questions.
Okay, sounds good.
Question number 5. Can you describe your experience working with suppliers and customers in different countries?
I haven't really worked internationally.
That's okay. You don't necessarily need to have like tons of experience working in other countries.
Okay, phew.
It's more about showing them that you can be adaptable, that you're culturally sensitive.
Okay.
So think about it. Have you ever traveled abroad at all?
Yeah, I did a semester abroad in college.
Perfect. See, that's a great example. Even if it wasn't specifically for work, it shows you can navigate a new environment,
Okay, yeah.
different communication styles, all of that.
Right, right. Because even just like getting around was a challenge sometimes.
Exactly. And you figured it out.
Yeah.
It shows you're resourceful. All good things to highlight.
Okay, that makes me feel better. All right, question number 6. This one feels very import-export. How do you ensure that all shipments are delivered on time and within budget? That sounds stressful.
It's definitely a fast-paced environment, you're right.
Yeah.
And they want to know that you can handle that.
So you need to show them you're organized, you understand logistics.
So what kind of examples could I even give? I feel like I haven't really done anything like that.
Well, think about times you've had to manage a lot of different things at once.
Okay.
Meet deadlines, maybe you had a budget to stick to.
Okay.
Did you ever organize a big event?
Oh, like back in college, yeah, I was on the event planning committee.
There you go. That's perfect.
Really?
Yeah. You had to coordinate with different people, make sure everything ran smoothly.
And we had a tiny budget.
See? That's all relevant experience. Or even something like, planning a trip. If you've ever done that, like a big trip with lots of moving parts.
Yeah, flights, hotels, the whole thing.
Exactly. It's all about logistics.
Wow, I never even thought of it that way.
And don't forget to mention if you've used any relevant software or tools.
Like spreadsheets and stuff?
Yeah. Even if it wasn't industry specific, it shows, your way around.
Right. Connecting those dots. Okay, question 7. This one feels kind of scary. How do you manage risk in the import-export process? Because it seems like there's a million things that could go wrong.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, international trade, it's full of uncertainty, weather delays, political stuff, you name it.
And then on top of that, the exchange rates.
Oh, yeah, definitely a factor.
So how do you even show them that you can handle all of that?
Well, first, do your research. Familiarize yourself with some common industry challenges.
Okay.
RoleCatcher has a ton of great info on that, by the way.
Okay, good to know.
So, for example, you could talk about, let's say, port congestion, right? That's a big one.
Right.
And then explain how you'd mitigate that risk, maybe by finding alternative shipping routes, something like that.
So it's about showing them you're already thinking ahead.
Exactly. Have those backup plans ready.
I like it. Be prepared. Okay, question 8 feels a little less intimidating. Can you describe your experience working with customs brokers and other third-party logistics providers?
Okay, yeah. So this one might seem simpler, but it's really all about your collaboration and communication skills.
Because you're working with all these different people.
Exactly. Customs brokers, freight forwarders, the list goes on. You're going to be interacting with a whole network.
Right.
So even if you haven't worked directly with these types of providers before, you can still answer this well.
How so?
Think about a time you had to, say, negotiate with a vendor, or maybe you coordinated a project with multiple teams.
Oh. So like anytime you've had to work with different people to get something done.
Exactly. Those are all valuable experiences. Did you have to set clear expectations, address concerns, that kind of thing?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've definitely had to wrangle people before.
Perfect. Draw on those experiences. Talk about how you built those relationships, how you made sure everyone was on the same page.
So even if it wasn't specifically about import-export, those skills still matter?
Absolutely. It's all transferable.
This is really making me realize how much experience I actually have that's relevant.
It's all about how you frame it.
Right, like finding the connections.
Exactly. And you know what else can be super helpful for that?
What's that?
RoleCatcher's AI feedback.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that earlier.
It can actually analyze your interview answers and point out areas where you might need to give a little more context, really bring out those skills.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So it's like having a little coach right there with you.
Exactly. It can be super insightful.
Okay, 2 more rapid-fire questions left.
Okay, bring them on.
Question 9 is bringing us back to compliance. How do you ensure that all import-export activities comply with all applicable regulations and standards? This one feels like it requires a lot of knowledge. It really does.
It does, yeah. This is where you want to show them that you're not just aware of the rules, but you're really on top of those details. You know what I mean?
Okay, so like what kind of things could I even mention?
Well, something like Inca terms, for example. Have you heard of those before?
Inca terms. Vaguely. Remind me.
So there are these international commerce terms, and they basically define, like, who's responsible for what.
Okay, like in the import-export process.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, who handles the insurance, who's responsible for the goods, at what point, all of that stuff. And knowing your Incoterms, it's really crucial for compliance.
Okay, so mentioning those is a good way to show them I get it. What about using an example, even if it's hypothetical?
Oh, that's a great idea. Let's say they ask you about exporting organic soy, for example.
Okay.
You could say something like, all right, so first I'd make sure the supplier has the proper organic certification, right? Then I'd double check that the labeling and all the documents, they meet the regulations for both our country and the destination country. And of course, I'd stay on top of any specific, what are they called? Phytosanitary regulations for soybeans?
Phytosanitary regulations. Now, those sound really complicated.
They can be, but basically it's all about preventing the spread of like plant diseases and pests. So really important for agriculture. Mentioning that shows you're thinking about the bigger picture. It's not just about getting the paperwork right. It's about protecting both countries.
Right. It's all connected.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Last question, number 10. And this one has me a little worried. Can you describe your experience managing a team of import-export specialists?
Okay, yeah.
But what if I haven't really had a chance to, like, be a manager yet?
That's okay. You can still totally rock this question. Remember, leadership doesn't always mean having a fancy title.
Okay.
It's about the qualities you bring to the table.
Right.
So think about it. Have you ever mentored someone or maybe taken charge of a big project at work?
Yeah, I guess I have.
Or even something like, did you ever organize a volunteer thing where you had to coordinate other people?
Yeah, back in college, I was in charge of a fundraising event.
There you go. See? That's leadership.
But we weren't, like, import-export specialists.
It doesn't matter. The principles are the same. So instead of saying, I sold the most raffle tickets, you'd say, I led a team of volunteers, and we implemented a new strategy that helped us exceed our fundraising goal by 20%.
Okay, so it's all about how I spin it, showing the results.
Exactly. And what's really cool? RoleCatcher's AI can actually help you with this.
Really?
Yeah. It can analyze the job description, and it can tell if the company is looking for someone who's more of an individual contributor or a team player.
Oh, wow.
And then it helps you adjust your answers so you're highlighting the right things.
So even if I have both types of experience, RoleCatcher helps me focus on what this employer is looking for.
Exactly. It's like having a secret weapon, right? But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to just be yourself. Let your passion shine through.
Because this is a field I'm really excited about.
There you go. That enthusiasm, that's what's going to make you stand out. Remember, an interview is a two-way street.
Yeah, I'm interviewing them too.
Exactly. Have some good questions ready. It shows you're engaged and curious. Plus, it helps you figure out if the company's a good fit for you.
That's such a good point. I've been so focused on them liking me that I forgot I have to like them too.
It's a two-way street for sure. And when you approach it with that confidence, you know your stuff, you're curious, and you're passionate. You've got this.
I love that. Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of import-export specialists.
Hope you feel ready to ace that interview.
Yes. Huge thank you to RoleCatcher for all the amazing insights and for giving us, that extra edge. And thank you for listening. Good luck out there. We're rooting for you.